Welcome, YouTubers, to a special edition of Near Mint Condition Gaiden, where we are kicking off a new series focusing on
Harry Potter this time, specifically Fantastic Beasts. We're going to prepare you for the movie.
Ooh, can I put the hand on?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go on my hand.
Gryffindor!
So today we're going to talk about Harry Potter.
And let me tell you how excited I am. I know Buster Ball's about it being like a really nerdy Lord of the Rings, but I'm really excited to talk about this because I stayed up watching Harry Potter, all the movies, and I read the books, and now I want to talk about fantastic breasts and where to find them.
Whoa, that's enough of that. Now that's better. All right, welcome back to Near Mint Condition Special Edition Harry Potter. I guess in the Fantastic Beasts. Beast guys.
Breasts? Okay. Doesn't work on black people.
If I could have you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Amanda, and how I became a Harry Potter fan is when I was a senior in college, my friend gave me the Sorcerer's Stone as a graduation gift.
An actual Sorcerer's Stone?
The actual Sorcerer's Stone, yes.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was beautiful.
How old are you?
A woman never reveals her age.
Almost.
So.
And my name is Alyssa, and I started getting into Harry Potter after having watched the third movie, and I fell in love with it so much. It was so dark and really just gauged my interest by that point, and so I decided that I had to read the books, and so I started from the first one, and I just fell in love with them and the themes, and
You became a Potterhead pretty quickly.
there you go. That's the best way to put it.
It doesn't take long.
So, I want to authenticate you all. Make sure you all actually know your stuff. I have a
Okay.
quick quiz.
Sure.
I have 3 wands. I want you to tell me the owner of each wand.
All
Okay?
right.
Okay?
Yes.
All right.
All right, here's the first one. Yes, these come from my personal collection. I have watched all the movies and read all the books. I do know how to read when
I'm impressed.
pushed. So, whose wand is this?
That's the elder one. That's Dumbledore's one.
Dumbledore's wand. No spoilers. Okay? Okay. Number
This
2.
is Harry's one now, right? No, I'm just
No spoilers. This is the second wand. Who does this belong to? This is my personal favorite.
Oh, that is Voldemort's
Yeah,
wand.
Voldemort's
Why is
wand.
that your personal favorite?
Because Voldemort he's just misunderstood. He's just misunderstood.
That's one way of looking at it.
And the third one. This is a little bit more tricky. Whose wand is this?
Hermione Granger.
That's Hermione's.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
then I have nothing. Go, okay. All right, so the reason we're talking today is there is a new Harry Potter movie that's coming out. Now, as I said, I have read all the books. I really have, and I've watched all the movies. My wife was like, every time we go see a Harry Potter movie, like she would be like, the book's so much better. And the whole time, she and her little gaggle of friends would be like, well, this scene was better in the book. This scene was better in the book. And I'm like, kill that noise. But like after watching them all, I was like, you know what? I want to read it too and show you that it's really not that much. Yeah, it's actually,
And it's
She's right, yeah.
Yeah,
She's- yeah.
That's right. So I have that much, but beyond the 7 books / 8 movies, I really don't have any other further experience of Harry Potter. Although I did buy these wands and things, and this scarf, this is authentic. This is my scarf.
I do like
did
the
borrow
scarf,
that. Thank
yeah.
you very
You
much.
didn't immediately log on to Pottermore when it was actually like cool and fantabulous, and you
I
could join
think
your
I did log
houses
on
and
to
play the
Pottermore.
games.
Yes. I think
Oh,
I
I
did do
did.
that.
Get those house
So,
points.
like, I know there was a screenplay that came out in the form of a book, and then I know there's these fantastic beasts and where to find them coming out soon.
Oh my goodness.
So, I'm ready. So, I want you all to
Yeah.
help me understand and
Okay.
get ready. Like, do I need to rewatch the movies? Do I need to reread the books? Maybe there's Cliff Notes? What's going on?
Well, there's definitely always cliff notes. If you go to Pottermore, you can actually read a lot about the history behind the books, and of course Fantastic Beasts and where to find them as well, because she actually has a whole section on Pottermore. So you definitely want to check that out. And she is coming out with a screenplay version of book that you can buy. It's not out yet. The one you're probably thinking of that is already out is Cursed Child, which is
Child,
actually
right.
a separate thing from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them that is
Actually set
in the
in-
future. And
Okay.
it's still the Harry Potter universe. Like, it has Harry and Hermione and Ron, and they're all the characters still.
Okay,
But
so
it's
let's
not written by J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about timeline. This play / book that's already out. Where does it fit into the timeline of the original 7? And
Okay.
also, where are the Fantastic Beasts? Where is that set
Okay.
in the timeline?
The play that came out, The Cursed Child, that's set in the future of Harry Potter. So, of course, if you said you read the last book, you know it ends at 19 years later.
Yes.
Well, this book actually takes place or the play takes place 19 years later.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Where the laughs are even greater.
Exactly. So that's where you're at.
It kind of involves their children.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're the main characters. Harry, Ron, and Hermione play background to their children. Well, really just Harry and Draco's child, which is, spoiler alert, if you haven't read it or been to London to see the play. But
spoilers. Spoilers. Okay, go ahead.
But The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a book that you see mentioned within the Harry Potter realm because it's a school book they use.
Yes, I remember that.
But the movie that's coming out is based on the guy who wrote The Fantastic Beasts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically his adventures.
What is his name?
Newt Scamander.
Scamander, right?
Yeah.
Newt.
Salamander.
Okay.
But
Yeah, Salamander, yes.
Got it. Great puns.
Yes, J.K. Rowling. She is quite good at that.
She is rolling.
But so basically the movie is going to set up Newt Scamander's adventures to research these Fantastic Beasts where to find, like the Hippogriff, Buckbeak, for instance, or different other beasts. And so this one is about that, but now this is set 70 years before the events of Harry Potter takes place. About 70 years, in the 1920s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you know the characters that are going to be in that? Have they made all the announcements on any characters that appear in the world or characters that are new?
Well, there's definitely a lot of new characters. So you have Newt Scamander, and then you have Tina Goldstein, which he's going to be meeting her. It actually takes place in New York City. So it's not even taking place in England.
New York City.
Yeah, I know. American wizards. You know how we are. So it's actually be taking place in America versus England. So it's going to be a whole new dynamic. He's going to meet Tina Goldstein, which if you read some of J.K. Rowling's backstory history, like on Pottermore, Tina Goldstein actually ends up becoming Newt Scamander's wife. So there's going to be that love story there.
Okay.
You're actually going to see your first major Muggle character, and you know what a Muggle is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've read the books!
Oh, okay, good. I want you to know if you remembered, which
this is true. I have a horrible memory.
which is a non-magical person. But in America, they call them no-mages.
No-mage.
Which is an interesting concept.
Are
I'm
you
still
team
trying-
no-mage?
I guess I'm team. Since I'm not a wizard, yeah, I guess I'm team nomad. I've yet to get my acceptance letter.
Do they get acceptance letters here, or is it delivered by something else?
Oh, I'm curious. I haven't read a lot
Instead of
on.
owls, would be drones, because we're talking about New York.
Well, no, this would be like, so this is set in the 1920s and 30s.
Oh.
There's still probably owls.
No
okay.
drones.
And
So
let's
maybe
face-
delivered
yeah.
by Tommy Gun, but
by a mobster wizard.
You got your letter, boy. Okay, what are some other characters?
There's also going to be Colin Farrell is playing Percival Graves, which is a R, but he seems to have a dark, aura about him.
Okay.
So we don't know if he's going to end up being a bad guy in the film. It sounds like he's going to be. Ezra Miller, everyone's favorite Flash, is also going to be appearing. I'm not quite sure what his character is going to be in the film yet. It seems like he's working with Percival Graves, the R. You know what R's are too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Dark
as a
Wizard
review-
Catchers. Dark Wizard Catchers. For
Yes.
anyone who doesn't know. And then, of course, you have, we already talked about Jacob Kowalski, which is the Muggle. And he actually, it seems, based on the trailers, is going to be interacting with the wizards in a major way. And which we've never seen in the original films. Besides the Dursleys, we don't have a lot of other Muggles that have, yeah.
right, they're always hinted at, but they're on the fringes of everything.
And then Eddie Redmayne will be Newt himself.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he, I think, just got the Oscar for, what was it, the Hungarian or...
Oh, Theory of Everything.
Theory of Everything,
He
yeah.
played,
Okay.
yep,
But what,
Stephen
didn't he
Hawking.
also play like a
Danish
woman?
girl.
The Danish girl.
He
not
played it the
Hungarian.
first, yeah. He didn't win because who won? Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio finally won.
A white person won.
Yeah, well, another white person
Right.
Another
won.
white person
But
won.
Leonardo DiCaprio finally won. Yes, so
Oh,
for the
okay,
Revenant,
okay.
yeah. Anyway,
But he was
yeah,
awfully close anyway.
he
yeah.
was, yeah, he was very good in it.
Okay, so let's talk about some differences between like some of the franchises.
Okay.
You all go on, so like the setting and the time period. You've kind of a
Yeah.
little touched about that. I asked it was in modern day New York, which apparently I'm wrong.
No, yeah.
No. 1920s and 30s. When are they having more of it set within a magical atmosphere, or are they going to actually have it more towards New York City, downtown, the industrial side of it? Do you know?
What I can tell from the trailer, you're going to see some of the magical world of New York City, because they obviously have to visit the Ministry of Magic version of the American wizarding government, and you see President Pickery is her name, and she's the president of this wizarding government in America. So you're going to see that, but it looks like we're going to see a lot of the Muggle or nomad New York City, because they're going to be running through it, having to catch these beasts that have been let loose, that have escaped Newt's briefcase.
He keeps them in his briefcase?
Yeah, just like, you know how Hermione in the 7th book had her little
the bag of
purse,
holding.
and then you could just keep going down in and everything was in it.
Just
she
like
had
a real
the
purse.
extending charm. Yeah, it's like a real purse. I wish I could keep a tent in my purse. But with the extension charm, it seems like his briefcase is going to also have an extension charm where he just has everything within it. They can keep everything there.
Okay.
Obviously, they don't have any animal regulations or laws, because those things would
Clearly
be
not.
eating each other alive in there.
I'm sure everything is siphoned and caged. You got to keep them separated.
Yes, well, if you look at the trailer, the final trailer, there is actually...
Look at the trailer.
I think, yes, look at the trailer, because you actually see Jacob Kowalski, the nomad. I guess he falls into the briefcase, and it looks like it's set up
like
with,
a zoo?
Yeah, like a zoo. Yeah, with cages and things like that, and a bookshelves and all sorts of stuff. So it's like with, like the TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
It's bigger on the inside.
Bigger on the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fellows, use that line. No, don't do that. So let's talk a little bit more about the bad guy. It's not Voldemort.
Bad guy.
There always has to be the anti-hero.
The anti-hero.
Yes, the big bad, right?
So Grindelwald is the Voldemort in the sense of this movie series.
Now, that's
or
a
this
familiar
franchise.
name from, Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you might think of it as if Voldemort maybe had never existed, Grindelwald would be the most evil wizard to ever exist. So he is really that bad. He's actually only second in line to being the worst.
Yeah.
Now, I liken him to, because it is set around that time period where Hitler came to power, I always liken it of Grindelwald being more like this sort of... very paramount to his time with Hitler, where he's having this rise to power, and Voldemort would sort of recreate that a little bit later. But it always puts to mind that this is that time period when you're having all this upheaval and this stuff is going on.
Yeah, you've got people who support eugenics in real life, and then you consider that there's really not much of a difference with the
no mages and the wizarding world itself.
Exactly, or the Mugbloods as well are seen as inferior because they're not pure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind with this film, for this first film, Grindelwald will be a bad guy on the outskirts of the main plot of the film. He's not going to yet be the main bad. Now, she just revealed there are going to be 5 films in this new franchise.
That was my next question. How many films are going to be in this one? Okay.
So you're going to see more of him, but for this first film, I think it's going to be more centralized on Newt and his journey. And of course, like I said, I think Percival Graves, the Auror, is going to have is going to be the antagonist in this film, but you're going to have the Grindelwald because going on around. So there's a lot of tensions between the Wizarding world and, of course, the Nomad world or the Muggle world in England, because the Wizarding world is trying to keep their secrecy. They hear of the grumblings of Grindelwald in England at the time, and so they're worried that it's going to come here to America and what's going to happen. So you're going to see that throughout the next 5 films, I imagine.
Okay. And Grindelwald is not a new person, not a new character.
No. If you've listened, or if you have read The Deathly Hallows, and of course the movie doesn't quite do it justice, Grindelwald is actually a former friend of Dumbledore, Professor Dumbledore, and they actually went on a quest together for the Deathly Hallows, like that wand right there, the Elder Wand.
Spoiler! That's not a spoiler.
Spoiler!
No,
I think we've run past that time for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that spoiler's out of date.
My niece, this wand is sitting on my shelf. Actually, it's this wand. It's sitting on my shelf. And it's sitting up there. And I'm like, hey, whose wand is this? And she's like, oh, that's Professor Dumbledore's wand. And I'm like, That is correct. And I've just held my tongue. Yep, so go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. But anyway, so Grindelwald introduced in this book, in the 7th book of Harry Potter, as Dumbledore's friend, who ends up becoming his rival. A lot of things happen with Dumbledore and his young sister and Grindelwald in a big fight, and we don't know who killed who, or who killed his sister, and that ends up kind of forming a rift between the two of them. And of course, as J.K. Rowling later points out, there is this underlying romance between the two characters as well, with her admission that Dumbledore is actually gay. So
do you think it'll be like, maybe we'll see like a young Dumbledore in the movie?
I hope we see young Dumbledore. It would be hard for them to try to make Michael Gambon any younger than he already is. And given how old Dumbledore is at the time, he's in his 20s around that time, and so they would definitely have to cast someone a little bit younger. But I see him playing a part in this franchise at some point.
And I know we were talking before about, is it really necessary for his relationship with Grindelwald to even be mentioned? And thinking about it, I kind of like that maybe it does kind of touch upon it, because then to me it means that JK didn't just decide to come up with it
At the end.
After everything was said and done.
Yeah.
Maybe for the shock value or for whatever.
Well, in the movie you can kind of see when they're interacting, like, okay, there seems to be a little something there, and the books makes it a bit more obvious, but
Right.
Yeah.
And she kind of goes on in Pottermore, and she gives more in-depth analysis about the characters or interaction. So it's a good companion piece to the books.
Yeah.
Especially a good companion piece to movies if you want to dive in and kind of learn more about the actual characters themselves.
And one final point about, we're talking about J.K. Rowling with the romance between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, is a lot of people are saying, maybe there shouldn't be that romance there. But I think it would be a disservice to the fans to not bring it up or talk about it and bring it out to the open, especially after the controversy that happened with the play that recently came out, Cursed Child. For those who haven't read, spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
But two characters, and I won't name names, there's a very heavy romantic tension between the two of them, and it's so obvious. You think that that's where she was heading, and then all of a sudden it becomes this, they're cisgendered, and they're clearly two straight boys, but you think, why didn't she play on that when it so clearly was written that way? She should have brought it to light, and she didn't. And for someone who we've talked about is so, passionate about representing minorities and trying to do better representing minorities and
eventually doing better.
Eventually.
Slowly getting better throughout the film,
right, exactly.
Her media.
I mean, she did allow them to cast a black woman as Hermione, which was amazing. And I know a lot of controversy about that, but to not show it in that play, and then to also, especially after she tells us Dumbledore is gay, to not play on it and present it in its full light in these films, if Grindelwald is going to be a main character later on in the film franchise, I think would be a disservice to the fans.
Absolutely, because without even at least giving some kind of allusion to this potential romance that they had, it could almost seem as if J.K. just decided to come up with the idea that Dumbledore was gay for the
sort of millennial,
it's topical.
Gender.
Right,
it's topical.
It's
very current.
Yeah.
And we could go into deep detail about how sexuality within the Harry Potter world, has changed and what the original, fan base wanted versus what JK and different elements in it. And it does make me sad a little bit that a lot of gay relationships are often portrayed as tragic, or one is evil and bad. And that's kind of how Dumbledore and Grindelwald's sort of relationship is.
You'll see, I wonder, because I think I remember this, she said it at a con, and the way she said it, if I recall correctly, I believe she said, I've always kind of thought of Dumbledore being gay, and then that's Thunderous Applause. But like, was that just something off the cuff, or was that for real? But, okay.
I don't think when writing characters, people, or at least maybe when she started out or fleshed out these characters, she wasn't thinking about sexuality because it was a kid's book.
Right.
But then as characters grow throughout the novels and the books,
each year
is getting older, and she's realizing and kind of writing to the right readers as they are growing up. So she's making them more mature, and she's having to delve into this new world.
And I think that's one of the reasons that I got into the books, because it's like, after the movies or whatever, it's like, okay, these are kids' books, but they ramp up exactly with
And
their
that's
age.
a good thing.
It's
Do you
great.
guys think that, Fantastic Beasts and these creatures, this new movie that's coming out, do you think it's going to be geared more towards children? Or do you think it's going to be more of an adult-style film? Not, like, completely, adult, but...
It's hard to say. She's got such
because most of the kids, I mean, I was in high school and early college when these books came out, and now, we're older. We're significantly older.
We're near
I think it'll still have... Yes, we definitely... I think it'll still have the undertones of... I wouldn't say it's definitely not Sorcerer's Stone, Chris Columbus level kids film. It's going to be more in the same tone and style of the later Harry Potter films, 3 and beyond, a little bit darker.
A darker, realistic type.
I think it might be PG-13. Okay. So it's definitely up there because of some of the dark elements I'm assuming will be playing into it. So I don't think it'll be Chris Columbus Harry Potter. It'll be more like Alfonso Cuarón or, David Yates, who's directed the last ones, who's directing...
These are directors, folks.
Yes, these are directors who are and David Yates is directing this as well and the rest of the films, because...
Okay. It's a good sign, right?
Yeah, it's a good sign.
That's a good sign David Yates is in on this, because the last movies were just so very well done. And so...
Yes. Okay. And yes, they cut a lot out of the stories, but they had to for time.
Even though it's a 2.5 hour epic. You think, they got it all, but no.
No.
Okay, so we had kind of been talking about, love stories. What are some other love stories that that we might see in the film?
The biggest love story, I think, and we touched upon it earlier, is going to be Newt Scamander and Tina Goldstein. They are the two main characters, heavily featured on the press junket right now, and heavily featured in the film, in the trailers so far, because J.K. Rowling's it's already written. They do become husband and wife, so we're going to see their relationship evolve, I'm assuming, over the next 5 films that are portrayed. Okay.
What do we know about these characters? Are they British and they came over to hunt these creatures? Are they American? Are they...
Tina is from America. And then Newt Scamander is from England. So he's actually coming over to do his own research, which, and I think based off the trailer, there's some type of a dark creature. We don't yet know what it is, but that's what I'm assuming he might be hunting, and he's come to America to search for it, and then gets his briefcase, unleashed somehow, and everything escapes from it. And
Pandora's box.
Pandora's that. Yeah, exactly.
So what dark creature? Educate me on dark creature. What do you mean?
That dark creature, I actually don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's from what I've seen in the trailer, there is just this creature they're talking about, but they haven't mentioned it by name yet. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be.
It's a giant spider.
It's Cloverfield.
It's Cloverfield. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it turns out to be in the end.
How do you say Godzilla in British English? Okay. So these are relationships between...
Godzilla.
So we'll talk about Godzilla in another episode. That's something we should definitely talk about. Again, more into these relationships. These are wizard relationships. Are we going to see any type of inter-magical, non-magical relationship?
I mean, like the Mudblood?
Yes.
Like the half-blooded prince?
Yeah. So, that was a really cool thing. Like, back in book 5, where we figure out, this guy's a half-blood prince. Oh my God, it's
book 6.
Yeah, so it's book 6. That's why we have the extra. Hey, I did good
I was gonna
to
let
get
you
it
go
within
on,
1.
Rob.
Okay, get it within 1.
You did go with it.
Yeah. So do we anticipate any other type of relationships or anything like that?
I don't know if it'll touch upon the relationship between maybe Kendra and Percival, which they're the parents of Albus Aberforth and what was her name? The girl who lost her mind. Her name
sister.
also started with an A. Yeah, she was in she's in one of the photographs in Hogwarts. So I don't know if they'll touch upon that or not.
Well, and then we also have or what it seems like a main Muggle character, or no Madge, I should say. I should use the American terminology for this since the film's based in America. So no Madge. Character of Komorowski, is it?
Kowalski.
Kowalski.
Yeah. Jacob Kowalski. Yeah. But I know that Alyssa's, as far as romantic relationships, they may not touch on, but as Alyssa, I think she knows more about the possibility of the relationships between the wizarding community and the non-magic community. That might play a part in these films.
Okay, good. Let's see. What about, so as a guy, I'm always in for the big epic battle. We talked about this dark, mysterious creature that we don't know what it is. It's Godzilla.
It's not Godzilla.
What are some, are we going to see something like an epic battle between like Dumbledore and is this going to like, the Dumbledore that we hope will appear in this film? Do you think there will be something that will transform him into the Dumbledore that we know in the current, in the first 7 books? What do you think about that?
We were talking about the fact that Dumbledore was kind of on the side of Grindelwald at first.
Right. So at first he was enwrapped within this sort of worldview, and he kind of, that's how he fell in with Grindelwald, was that he bought into this, much like many people did in Europe with, the whole like pure race thing. But the ideology and the practice of it, you see that darker world, and he fell out. He was like, it kind of like, oh, this is not who I want to be. And that changed him who he was. And that specific event with Grindelwald and his sister did, I think, change him into the Dumbledore that we have now. I don't know if the film will focus on that because it's a whole kind of new cast of characters. They're in there and it kind of ties in, but over 5 films, I'm sure they'll get into it.
Yeah.
Which is something else we were talking about, too, I think, is the idea that, or the possibility that it was going to be just 3 and then it expanded to 5. We had mentioned that before, which I'm not crazy about. And Deathly Hallows was split into 2. Most people will say that the first part was pretty boring, but by that point, they had gotten such a fan base, they had gained so much money that they could almost get away with these long, kind of monotonous sort of scenes. Whereas part 2 was so much more interesting.
Yes, it was.
It almost could have done without the first part, in a sense.
An hour and a half of walking in the woods.
Yeah, an hour and a half of walking in the woods. And so I'm kind of sad about it being stretched out so much, because I just think it may lose a whole lot of...
Yeah.
And it's not essentially, it is based around Fantastic Beasts, but it's not got a real book.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So, like, is there a Fantastic Beasts book that I can purchase that would make sense to split up in 5? Because if you look at the Deathly Hallows, it's like this thick, right?
Yeah, it's
so
huge.
It makes
it's
sense
a big book,
that it's split into 2.
Yeah.
So this being split into 5 makes me think, okay, this is going to be a giant book, or as this leaflet right here.
Pretty much it, yeah.
So do you think they're stretching it just to make money because they know there's people who dress up in Hogwarts gear and buy glasses that are going to be like, oh my god, I want to go! Just like I buy anything Nintendo. There are people that are like, go do anything Harry Potter. Do you think this is a money scam, or does J.K. LMOP really think she knows what she's talking about? Does this justify 5 movies?
I think that J.K. Rowling has, because there's no text that we can actually use as a basis for this. This is her pure, knowledge of her own world that she's creating from scratch. So think of it as her creating 5 books around this time period almost.
Direct to video.
Direct to video, right? No, but it'd be interesting to see. I'm just interested to see how Newt Scamander's going to play a role, because you don't think, in the original film or in the original books, all you think of as Newt Scamander is just a guy.
The sort of like historian figure, the social studies teacher,
he's not, exactly.
creatures,
So, and I'm all
a
about...
botanist almost. Well, what's the animal equivalent of botanist?
An ecologist? No, not an ecologist.
See, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
So you don't really know how he's going to play into it, and I'm worried about her trying to fit him into the larger stage of what's going on at this time, and it may not make sense.
Is it just going to turn out to be Harry Potter Encyclopedia American edition?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm worried about. Is it going to be like, oh, this is a fun world, but it's lacking in plot and action because we don't have material source that she's playing off of? Yeah, there are going to be some great fight scenes with potential, these dark creature and stuff.
Yeah.
But is there really going to be something that we latch to as fans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point. Because, and it's like anytime a really great movie starts out, somebody at some point always gets the idea to make more. Like
Right.
Rocky. There's like 100 Rockies.
Yes, there are.
It's the same.
And we all agree, I think,
Creed.
the first
Go watch
one...
Creed after
Creed
you watch
was
this.
good, yeah. That was a good
I think
movie.
we all agree that the first one is really good, but then after Rocky 2, Rocky 3, by
Yes.
the end it was getting kind of boring, and I don't know. I just have some fear that could happen with this one too.
With 5 movies.
With
Okay.
5 movies.
Yeah,
like this.
5 is a lot.
I love
3
Harry
I
Potter,
thought
yeah.
would have made sense, but 5
Love
seems
it. I love
large.
Harry Potter, but even I don't want to see my favorite franchise stretched out to the point that we are just saying the same thing, and we get the impression that this is all being done for more profits.
Kind of like
But-
how The Hobbit. A Hobbit could have just been one movie and
Yes,
done, and they
perfect.
turned it into this stretched out, long, bad CG,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think someone had mentioned to me, I think it was Omar, about it being like the episode 1, 2, and 3 of the Star Wars. Is this what it's going to turn out to be like? And I don't think so, because this is by no means a prequel to Harry Potter, because a prequel to Harry Potter would be The Rise of Voldemort. That would be the
Don't say his name.
Sorry.
What are you trying to
He
do?
who must not be named. He who must not be named. That would be a true prequel to the events of Harry Potter. Nor is it happening afterwards. That's Cursed Child. And J.K. Rowling says, as far as Harry's story, Cursed Child was it. She's done. Well, let's hope so. She said that, I think, before in the past.
Yeah, before Cursed.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like, in my mind, I see Fantastic Beasts: Where to Find Them as like the new Star Wars movies coming out, not like
Rogue
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Like these different stories within the universe that may not have anything to do with the original franchise directly. I mean, obviously, I think Rogue One kind of does, but there's still different stories about different characters that are introduced that are brand new.
So I can get down with that, because one of the reasons that I actually clinched on to Harry Potter was the character development. Say what you will about Harry Potter and the fans, J.K. Rowling can write good characters. She can write great characters that like you can connect
She
with
can put
and flesh them
subtle
out.
hints in, and just like Oda with One Piece, she drops these little hints with names or with small little
So
actions
clever.
or little words hidden here and there, and then 2 books down, it becomes an integral part in the story. And I'm hoping that she replays that with these. That's my hope. I really hope that she does that.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, One Piece is a perfect example, because, the current arc that I'm not going to spoil, because we're not talking about One Piece.
Right.
There are silly things that happen in the beginning. You're like, oh, silly things that happen that don't really matter. And then there's a big flip, and you're like, oh, that's why they're all toys?
This matters.
This matters. So, again, this is why I was like, okay, Harry
And that was the last arc.
Okay, do you think there's going to be any, references to, the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, the 7 Horcruxes? Ooh, hold on. The Elder Wand.
The Elder Wand, yes. I don't know if there'll be any direct references to them. If there comes a point where there's going to be interaction between Grindelwald and Dumbledore in the final films, I think there might be a reference to it, because that's how Dumbledore gets, spoiler alert, that is how Dumbledore gets the wand. He actually wins it when he defeats Grindelwald. Mm-hmm. So, will there be a mention of it? If they actually make those two characters at some point interact in the films, then yeah, I think it'll.
What about you? What do you think?
I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
You're like,
Speculation.
I have no, I'm an open
No, you're
book
trying
on
to
this.
maintain that face, so you won't say the wrong answer when the movie comes out.
There you go.
You're safe.
I understand, looking at the trailer, there's some things like, oh, I think this is going to work. And
Because we're all speculating on what's
Yeah,
going
it's all
on.
Yeah,
Sure.
who knows?
And the trailer actually brought up another thing that I wanted to ask you all about, this concept of unregistered wizards. There's a scene where you let a unregistered wizard run around New York City for a whole day. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this?
My first thought is that it is very similar to the storyline of Civil Wars. if some
Marvel
Civil
okay,
Wars,
okay,
yes.
like the comics and the movie that just came out.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And if you have so much power, should you be required to...
So you can be kept track of.
Exactly. Should you be regulated? Is it safe to sort of regulate somebody or a group of people with this much power? Or is that sort of impeding on their rights? Or and
Because
is
this is
it
America.
exactly? And is it impeding on their ability to do what they do best?
Yeah, so like the Civil War comic, I really got into it because there's definitely this fighting, this conflict of, is it okay to be registered and do what the government, what the world, or whoever wants you to do, versus, okay, the government is ultimately, conspiracy theory, the government is ultimately controlled by people and money and agendas and politics. We should be able to do our own thing so we can act accordingly. So like looking at the trailer and seeing that, it's like, okay, this is cool, this dichotomy
And I wonder
reflects.
if the registry has something to do like with immigration, if it's registering as you get there with wizards, so that we can keep control, so we can monitor, because we have our own version of the Ministry of Magic, and we need to make sure that the no-mages in the New World, don't know about the wizards and keep it the same as what was going on with, the Old World.
Right. Immigrants, they get things done.
Which also reminds me, since it's based in the New World, will we see sort of like the Native American mythology and magic? Mm-hmm. I wonder if that'll play any part within... It is New York City, which is diverse from the West, but... if we'll see any of that come into play, or if they'll focus more on sort of like the European style that we've been seeing in the movies.
Right. J.K. Rowling does a great job with characters and character development. One of the main reasons that I got into this stuff is because she just knows how to write great characters and great story. So it'll be interesting to see if this fleshes out into something that, again, something that we've already had, or is it going to look on what's going on currently, what's going on back then in the 20s, with Hitler and things like that. It would be very interesting. Maybe she'll change her mind about 5 movies. I think Age of Ultron was supposed to be 2, and they shut that back to 1, or no, the next one. Anyway, so maybe she'll change her mind, or maybe the 5 movies would be justified. It'd be interesting.
Well, she is actually writing the screenplay, so I've seen an interview with her. It's her first time writing screenplays, so she may end up realizing she doesn't need to do 5, but as far as we know, that's what it is going to be about, and I think we'll see how it comes down the pike.
Okay.
So when does this come out?
This comes out November 17th. Okay. So if anyone wants to go see it or is planning to go see it, they should probably get their tickets now, because I think they're already on sale in most states and cities.
Is it like a midnight release?
Oh, yeah, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday is the midnight release.
And you're not allowed to go unless you dress up.
Yeah.
Dress up, do something. Okay, so I asked, hey, what should I do to get prepared for this movie? I think you all have done a great job. Thank you, guests.
No
for
problem.
appearing.
Thank you, Amanda.
Alyssa.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Alyssa.
we're glad to be
Appreciate
here.
that. So you have any closing thoughts?
I'm just really excited to see where J.K. Rowling is going to take this new chapter of her universe and what she's going to really flesh out throughout this entire new series. As someone who's loved Harry Potter and has been craving more ever since the original series and the original movies ended, I think this is a great place to do it, because one of the things I was worried about with Cursed Child was that I don't want her to take characters that I fell in love with and then turn them into something that they're not.
Yeah.
I don't want them to become fan fiction versions of themselves, and what I like about this is that it's not going to do that. Maybe with Dumbledore, we don't know yet, but for the most part, all these characters are wholly original characters, separate from the original franchise, and which I'm very excited to see. I like seeing a universe expanded, and so I'm looking forward to see what it has to offer.
Okay. And
Yeah, I'm really excited about it taking place in the U.S. this time, too, because we always see everything with the Wizarding World taking place in Britain. And, of course, that's perfect for that storyline and that culture, but now that... Since
You had a mere mention during the Quidditch match.
Right, of
like
the
Americans.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice to be represented in that sense and to get to feel like it is a little more relatable because it is taking place in our home country this time. So I like that aspect of it.
With some home actors.
Yes, exactly. And so I think that could be a really interesting way to go with it, since it is different than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, Colin Farrell and maybe your boyfriend Johnny Depp showing up.
Oh, we'll talk about Johnny Depp later if that actually does come to fruition. Yeah, that'll be an interesting side piece.
And what about you, Tina?
I'm just looking forward to all the CG or the characters and the animals. I'm actually interested in the more expansion of the world building, because you do, kind of like what Amanda said, we've only seen really the European or, the Hogwarts universe, and this takes a sidestep and gives you a sort of broader aspect. So I want to see the creatures, I want to see the characters, and I want to see some more American magic go on.
American magic. Cool. As for me, there's two things that I'm looking forward to seeing. Number one, I want to see how these characters transform into what they become based on the books.
Transformers?
More than meets the eye. So I'm looking forward to the transition and how I think backstory is really interesting. All of us as humans, we act and do the things we do for a reason. Our parents, our people, our beliefs, it all comes from something. So I'm very interested to see how these events that occurred back in the 20s turn into the characters that we know and love. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And the second thing I'm looking forward to is fantastic breasts. I cannot wait to see fantastic breasts.
Thank you guys for watching Near Mint Condition special Harry Potter and the Fantastic Beasts.
And if you like what you saw, click like and then subscribe for more geeky stuff.
And don't forget to comment below on what you're most excited to see with the new Fantastic Beasts and where to find the movie.